Sp4zie and plenty.
Hello YouTube, Sp4zie coming right at you. It's time for another champion preview. This time around we're taking a look at both MF and GANGPLANK. Ballet! MF, sort of a facelift with some tweaks. GANGPLANK, a very different champion. So we're gonna start with MF and then move into the juicy bits with the other pirate. Alright, let's do it. So apart from a general graphical upgrade, MF has received a little change to her Q, double up. The second bounce of that ability will now deal more damage if the first target is killed by the shot. So just adding a little bit of depth to that ability and to MF in general, while laning especially, I guess. And then there's also a change to the W in pure shots. This is the steroid that you activate to attack faster and deal a little bit of magic damage on each hit. Now what they've added is that when you activate it, you also gain your passive, strut, which means movement speed, which means utility. And in order for this to make sense, they've also changed the passive a little bit so that it only wears off if you take direct non-periodic damage to MF. So if you have Ignite on you or some kind of dot and you pop your W, you're still gonna be able to get out of there. It's not just gonna, wear off immediately because it's a dot and it's not direct damage. So it makes sense. Alright, let's move on to GP. The passive is called Trial by Fire, and it's on a pretty long cooldown, but when it's up, your next basic attack is going to deal bonus true damage over time, very much like an Ignite, and it's also going to grant you a burst of movement speed. Now, the important thing to note here is that this damage is really strong. GP players are going to run around and play around their passive. It also synergizes with one of the abilities. We're going to get into that in a second, but this passive is going to deal a lot of damage, and it's going to be very strong for you to win trades. And now for the Q. Ballet. They haven't really changed much here. It really does feel like the same parlay that we're used to. Still gives you extra gold on kills, still refunds a little bit of mana, on-hit effects, all that stuff. It doesn't apply the new passive though, and it makes sense because the new passive is super strong. Now, every time you kill a unit with parlay, you get a new currency called Silver Serpent. Above your skills, there'll be a little indicator that tells you how much you have, and every time you reach 500 of them, you can go back to the shop and upgrade your ultimate, and we'll get into that in a second. W feels very much the same way. It's K, it removes CC. Now, one change that they've done is that the healing is based on his missing health, which means that you'll heal more if you use it when you're low HP than when you're high HP. And now the E, it's a brand new ability called Powder Keg. And you place a little keg on the ground that lasts for a minute. If enemies attack this, it's destroyed and they gain a little bit of gold. But if GANGPLANK attacks it, it will explode and it will deal that attack's damage as physical damage and also ignore a portion of the enemy's armor. It will also add a slow to the enemy. Now, here's the interesting part. If you place several kegs within each other's blast radius, they will sort of create this chain explosion thing that you can set off by attacking any of the kegs in that sort of network. Note that the damage will not stack, so you can't really set up a mega death boom in a brush. Also, I think I forgot to mention that you can explode the barrels by using parlay, so you can do it from range. Now, here is the most important thing about this ability. If you destroy a powder keg, you instantly refresh your passive, meaning that you'll grant a burst of movement speed and your next auto attack will deal true damage over time. Since the powder kegs are on a stacking system, I think at max level I had 5 of them stacked up, you can and should use this ability mid-fight to refresh your passive. Not only that, you can also use it, toss it in front of you when you're chasing people, and attack it while you run past it, just to gain that movement speed and catch up to people. Finally, the ultimate, the Cannon Barrage. It feels very much like the same ability. The looks is way better. The sound design, I love. You can actually hear the, ship in the background when they fire the bullets. It's really cool. But like I hinted when we talked about parlay, you gather these coins, and when you get 500 of them, you can choose to upgrade this ultimate. And there's 3 different upgrades in the shop that you can choose from. And if the game goes to very late game, you can upgrade all of them. You can see the upgrades on your screen right now. One of them sort of adds a little bit of nuke in the center of the ability. The second one adds frequency to the slow and the damage in the overall AoE. And the third one gives your allies a little bit of movement speed when they're in the area of effect. So there's a little bit of more depth to it, but the feel of it is sort of the same, and the usability is still like, contributing to team fights while you're not there, maybe even clearing a wave somewhere when you don't want to go there. It's still a global ability in that sense, so yeah. There you have it. That's the new GP. I hope I made it as clear as possible. That's what my goal always is when I do these videos, to sort of like simplify and make it very clear what the new changes actually mean. If you still have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll look through them and hopefully reply to as many as I can. And if you enjoy this, award me with a like, because that helps me in what I do. If you watched my stream yesterday, you were expecting an epic moments today on the channel. I have postponed that to tomorrow because I needed to tweak it a little bit. Plus this video, I felt like it had a little bit of a higher priority. Stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, friends. This has been Sp4zie, and I am out. Dudes!